Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name is Mariano Carpentier. I am a senior consultant at Normatic. I've been working on software. We have an echo. Let's try to get rid of it. That's it. So I've been working on software for 19 years now. I've been working at all over the stack, front-end, API, and also the DevOps side. And lately, I took an interest on the security side of it, and I've been looking into NeuVector as a tool to work on the security. First of all, let me clarify. I know there are other tools than NeuVector. I haven't put my hands on them. So yeah, I will be focusing on this one, which is, by the way, is open source. It's works under the Apache license. So although Suse, who is the owner of it, has an enterprise version of it, anybody can download it and use it if you please. So we are going to be talking about the new approach. Why cloud native environments, they need a new approach to security. Used to be the case that just a firewall would be enough. No, this is no longer the case. There are many more attack surfaces that we need to secure. And we are going to be looking into NeuVector and the code they propose to resolve this situation. We're going to be looking into the runtime and supply chain security features that NeuVector brings, and zero trust, the zero trust model that it implements. Lastly, we're going to be looking into the integration of the tool into the existing teams of DevOps and security. So why do we need to implement something in this area? So the landscape has been changing. We have been using containers, microservices, APIs, and so on. These many new technologies, they create many more surfaces of attack. We call them attack surfaces, and they need to be secure. So the more components we have, the more risks we face. There is a dynamic nature of it. So within a day, you can get in your cluster many applications getting deployed or changing constantly, and we don't know really what is happening. If you are working in the DevOps team, developers may decide to deploy an application daily. So there is a need to have something automated in place. Also, there are complex dependencies. We are using libraries, we're using services. We don't know what is happening inside of libraries or behind those services. So there is also the need to secure them. So talking about the new attack surfaces, we have shared resources. We have containers running into shared resources. Those containers can be misconfigured. They can be susceptible to attacks because they are based on images. Those images may have vulnerabilities and so on. At the same time, a developer or the DevOps engineer may have been rushing some delivery or whichever, and there may be misconfigurations. Those misconfigurations may be the entry point for an attack. An attacker will try to get into the cluster by getting into a container and leveraging all the misconfigured and insecure aspects of it to move laterally to other containers, and so on, and keep polluting the cluster. Also, there is the risk of a supply chain attack, which means tools like, I don't know, Circle CI, GitLab CI, Jenkins, they can be vulnerable as well. And they can be attacked, and the whole chain, the whole supply chain may be vulnerable to attacks and maybe compromising the security of our cluster and our applications running in the cluster. At the same time, we have APIs. Those APIs, well, Kubernetes offers APIs. NeuVector in itself offers APIs, and most likely the applications deployed in this cluster will have APIs. So those APIs, they need to be secure. If they don't handle authentication and authorization properly, they are an entry point for an attack. So what is NeuVector and what it does? NeuVector is a cloud-native security platform and has been built from the ground up, thinking of native cloud-native architectures. So what it does basically provides security in the supply chain and the runtime. It has two big groups of features, let's say. Admission control, we are going to go through them later, but basically admission control, compliance scanning, vulnerability scanning, those are when I have an image that I want to deploy, they will be scanned by NeuVector, and they will be it will be reporting to me as a developer or as a DevOps engineer if I have a vulnerability I need to fix, or if I want to fix it or not. But at the same time, we need to be running in we need to be executing this security in runtime, because the attacks can be happening in real time. We may have deployed a completely secure application that for some reason is getting attacked, and we need to have a tool in place or something in place to monitor those potential attacks. So running NeuVector in this laptop is pretty much impossible. I have to run too many virtual machines. Each one of them is 2 GB of RAM, so I cannot do it here. So I did the next thing. I took a couple of screenshots to show how this works very much. So one of the features of the supply chain security is admission control. In here, we have a rule, for example, that has been set up that says that we want to block all the non-scan images. So it doesn't matter if in this case, for this rule, it doesn't matter if the image has been has passed the security checks. It may have vulnerabilities, but we may want to just say, if it hasn't been scanned, don't let that to be deployed in our cluster. So with that rule in place, when we try to apply a deployment, we will run this and we will get an error forbidding us from installing that, from deploying that application until the image that the application is using has been scanned. So later on, we can go into the registry section. We can configure the registry and configure and make sure that the image we are going to use is scanned. And once the scan runs, NeuVector is going to let me pass, and it's going to let me deploy that application. Another aspect is vulnerability scanning. What it does, NeuVector, what it does is getting each image from the registries, going through them layer by layer, trying to identify potential issues that may compromise the security of it. It may be looking into permissions, the file system, maybe looking into dependencies. I had a case in which I deployed an application that was made in Node, and I was using a library that, according to NeuVector and according to the database of vulnerabilities they have, it had a potential vulnerability. So it said that I have that, and if I migrate to the next version, I was going to get rid of it. That is one. And then in here we have an example of it, where this library, this package, in this version has a potential for being attacked. And it also says in which revision has been fixed. So if we have access to that application, we can simply upgrade it, and we will be having a secure, more secure application. Lastly, we have the compliance scanning, which is basically if you want to be compliance with some standards, or if we want to make it compliant according our organization's rules, we can run it here. We can see if some things are being according to the expectations or not. And in here we have a custom rule that says, for example, if this file is found in the image, well, this is not in compliance. This is just a sample. It says if the file hack is found, it's not in compliance. So that is supply chain. But when NeuVector is running, it has 3 modes of operation. It's discovery, monitor, and protect. In discovery mode, what it's gonna do, because you have to think that NeuVector is gonna be running in the cluster, like any other application inside the cluster. So I will have many pods running on it, and it's gonna intercept anything that is happening in the network, through that network, through that virtual network, and it's gonna be monitoring the behavior of the containers and the traffic through the network. In discovery, it's gonna assume that anything that is happening is expected. So it's safe to say, okay, we need to install NeuVector, we need to run it in discovery mode for a while, and then once has been all the potential uses of that cluster has been discovered, we can move into the next level, which is monitor and then protect. In monitor mode, what it's gonna do is check the same things, but it's gonna alert developers and DevOps engineers if any of the rules has been breached. And in protect, it's gonna plainly block it. So it's gonna prevent that traffic from passing through the network, or even if it's a container that is detecting to be compromised, it can isolate it, prevent all the traffic to it and from it. And during the protect mode, there is a zero trust approach, which means anything that is not explicitly allowed is blocked. So in here we have a graphic of how this works in monitor mode and protect. This is the enforcer, which is running in this level, and the enforcer, when it's in protect mode, this is how it's implemented. This is the OSI model, all the layers of the network, and this is a virtual switch that enforces those rules by literally inspecting the headers and body of the requests in those network requests. So how can we integrate this into working teams? First of all, NeuVector brings a couple of tools, plugins to integrate in current CI/CD tools like Jenkins and so on. And if we were to use it in a custom way, we can leverage the APIs, and it has a CLI as well, which is less powerful than the API that NeuVector brings, but it's also useful. NeuVector proposes a shift-left approach. So instead of waiting for the problem to appear in production, we try to move that to the other previous environments, let's say staging and so on, or even to the developer. The developer can literally run a scanner in his workstation. He can grab an image and get the scanner from Docker, the Docker registry, and he can run it over the image that he or she created. Has the benefit of integrating the DevOps team and the security team, which sometimes they don't have the same interests in mind, but by using a tool like this, after it's set up, we are aligning those teams together and effectively integrating them in DevSecOps. And obviously we have real-time alerts and actions on those programs. The way the alerts work, we can send emails, we can use Slack. Also, the logs in NeuVector will always say which problems have been found. So there is an aspect, simplified security aspect once the application NeuVector has been installed in the cluster. In the beginning, it may be more cumbersome to install it and configure it and make sure it's working as expected, but once it's in place, it will potentially block attacks and it will potentially notify of any potential lack of security. And it does give you visibility of whatever is happening in the cluster as well. Gives you a score of how secure you are, and also you can graphically see the components of the cluster. You can maximize this, see where the information is coming from to. So yeah, this is, I wish I could show it working, but I should have deployed it in the cloud, but I didn't make on time. So the product is quite big. I haven't been playing around with other options for this. This is how NeuVector works and how it's implementing the security. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will try to answer. Yes. No, it's so when you want to run it locally, basically what you can do is get one scanner image from Docker, the Docker registry, and you run that image over the container you want to push to your repository or whatever. It's like a previous step before actually pushing your code and sending that to deployment. So are you
deploy one version into the cluster, and then that also if you want to make portraits about the CI/CD pipeline?
You can integrate in the CI/CD pipelines with the plugins. If you configure it for running once you push, will depend when the pipeline runs. That you can see. You will get a report. If you are the developer, you will get an email or probably Slack channel that you set up according to your setup.
But that will use the version that I'm running somewhere.
The version of what?
Like when the pipeline runs, where does the noise
is running in the cluster?
in the cluster?
Yes. So there is one standalone, which is the image that you can download from Docker. That is to run it and scan just local thing, but at the same time, it's always running in the cluster. So it does consume a little bit of resources from the cluster. Is anybody using anything similar or different?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I look into the other ones, but they are mostly paid and enterprise. So
there was one slide that talked about FOSA mode.
yeah.
So what role is the solution fulfilling there?
Yeah, so you have many pods running that they form NeuVector. The enforcer is actually one of the pods, and it has a name. It's some sort of interceptor in Kubernetes, and is the one that is going to try to prevent you from installing anything in the cluster that should not pass. Yeah.
Is the best way to install it like via a Helm chart or something?
Yes, it can be installed with Helm. Yes, but also you can use the YAML deployment as well. So I didn't. Yeah, both of them. Both the options are available. Yeah.
And it's agnostic to any kind of Kubernetes.
Yes, actually running Kubernetes, I think can run in OpenShift as well. I haven't tried it. But yeah, can run. It runs inside the Kubernetes cluster.
So what are the requirements? It's so massive.
Requirements you mean in terms of hardware that is going to use? I don't have specific numbers. In the documentation, it says that it's not that heavy. I don't know how you can take that. Take it with a grain of salt because it's something running constantly, like in the intercepting all the network calls. So it's not going to be absolutely transparent.
But just to focus on that, you need to run how much memory is just deploy.
When I deployed it in my machine, well, I had many virtual machines, and each one was 2 gigabytes. Was around, I don't remember, like I think 64. So I had many virtual machines running because I had many enforcers, then scanners, controllers. They are different types of pods running, distributed in your cluster in many nodes.
Is this a open source? It's called like Rancher is like Suse.
Yeah, Suse bought the product in 2021 and they open source it. So it's under the Apache 2.0 and it's quite open. You can do pretty much anything. But they have other plugins. I think they have kind of an enterprise version, but you can do pretty much anything with the free one. And you can literally see the source code as well. Yeah, it's in GitHub.
How long does it take to get up and running?
Took me a while because I had to run, I had to set up my cluster, but once you have the cluster running, it doesn't take that much long. So you just prepare. In my case, I didn't use Helm. I use plain YARN. In the documentation, you have many samples that you can take and modify, and then you deploy that, and it will pull all the images and deploy it in your cluster.
You wanna make your sure you're adding those. Is there a way to do it outside of the UI? Is there an API or?
Yes, and you can do anything in NeuVector, you can do it through the API. And there is a CLI as well that is not as powerful as the API. So you can do a subset of what you can do with the API.
Any questions? All right, then, Sam.
Okay, to go for round two. Okay.
Yeah, round two.
I think so. Assumption, spring.